Yeah, I've wasted 2,500 hours in World Eternum. Some of those hours, I hated every second of them. Others, just mind-numbingly boring. But then, there was these magical moments that were more fun than anything I did in the past decade. So in 2025, is New World actually worth playing? Has it finally recovered from that horrific launch that lost over 1 million players in just a few months? Is Amazon still the flop everyone remembers? In this video, I'm going to break down everything New World has to offer, from PvP to PvE dungeons, from loot, crafting, chopping down half the trees in Eternum. Everything you need to know before you waste your life away, just like I already have. Let's talk about something everyone should know. Combat in New World Eternum. Is it good, bad, or just plain ugly? I'd say highly addictive. Even at 3 a.m., you'll find yourself saying just one more battleground match because you can't get enough of that sweet high. Here's why. You've got 6 core abilities. These aren't just for show. They define your entire playstyle. They have long cooldowns. So long that I'm still waiting for my hairline to respawn. And then you get one big juicy ultimate, a true game changer, giving you 7 abilities per loadout. Not a lot, maybe, but each one can make or break your build. Precision matters, timing matters, and in between abilities, you're weaving in light and heavies like nobody's business. New World's combat is primarily action-based, sprinkled with a little bit of tab targeting, like seasoning a juicy steak. These abilities aren't over the top like Lost Ark or other Korean pay-to-win MMOs. They're flashy enough that you can always see what is coming. The sound design, ecstasy, music to your ears. Now for the best part, precision, roll, block, or hit an ability at the wrong time, you're a tombstone filled with instant regret. Hit it perfectly, your enemies vaporize faster than their mental health. They may even uninstall. That is the addiction of New World's combat. This isn't just important for PvP. In PvE, timing, dodges, blocks are critical. Attacks that can mean the difference between survival and being flattened by a boss. If I had to describe it, imagine Dark Souls and Elder Scrolls had a baby. That's New World combat. Crowd control is still very real. It hits harder than a freight train, and while staggers are rare, the CC can completely turn a fight around in both PvP and dungeons. I'll show you exactly how this plays out later in PvP battles, raids, and trust me, some of the best combat content in any MMO. But before we dive in, let's talk about weapons. There are 15 weapons in New World Eternum. They're broken into 4 categories. Magical, if you're feeling like a wizard Harry. Ranged, for the sneaky little rats out there. Two-handed, this is where the big boys play. And then one-handed, for those who like to keep busy with the right hand. Each weapon brings 6 unique skills, but you can only pick 3 of them. Every skill feels distinct with very little overlap across all the weapons. That's impressive. And then there's passives, like a kid in the candy shop eating until your stomach and heart are both full. My personal favorite, the Great Sword. If Jesus Christ himself made a weapon, it would probably be this. Nothing else in the game or any game I've played has ever come close to this beauty. That's how most people feel about New World Eternum weapons. Whether you're a musket enjoyer, a spear rat, or a rapier goblin, everyone finds their dream weapon, their lover, and usually mains it until they either quit or collapse from exhaustion. Your secondary weapon is more for utility. For example, the hatchet is paired with the great sword, quick burst, mobility, and a huge layer of despair for your enemies. Each weapon scales off different stats. There are 5 in total. Constitution, focus, intelligence, dexterity, and strength. If you're confused, hover over the weapon of your choice. It'll tell you exactly what it scales off of. For example, my beauty, the great sword, 80 strength, 80% dexterity. Even split, something I can't do in real life. That means it can be compared with a ton of other weapons that run strength or dex, giving a lot of build variety. Even if you're feeling spicy, like a spicy meatball, you can match almost anything and everything in New World with the right gems that can change your stat line from strength to intelligence to allow you to run a great sword with an ice gauntlet. Is it meta? No. Will it be fun? Absolutely. Strapping because it's gonna get messy. People are gonna be rage DMing you, but at least you're having fun. Now that we've covered combat and weapons, let's dive into the world itself. When you walk around New World Eternum, the visuals are stunning. The sound design, magical. But what about the world itself? Does it feel alive? Immersive? Yes. Let me break it down. First, the sound design. You can hear people mining, chopping down trees from a mile away. The world always feels alive because even the tiniest sounds can make it seem alive. Unlike watching your teammate hit the floor in a dungeon. Just less satisfying though. Next, the lighting in dungeons. My favorite. Tempest Fury. This bad boy, beautiful. Walking through that dungeon, you think the devs were smoking something magical. The red lighting, dark ambience, tentacle flying everywhere. It really feels like the whole New World package. Every dungeon in New World feels unique. Will that be Tempest Fury, Need, or all the way down to the depths of the barnacle in Cutlass Keys. The visuals and the sound design push them to a whole nother level. Pair that with the amazing background music, the sound design for every ability, and suddenly the world feels alive and thriving. What about when you're not in a dungeon or PvP? Well, you can gather and craft and interact with practically everything in the entire world. Every action feels meaningful. Every tree you chop down, every ore vein you mine, every creature you hunt and skin alive. Don't forget to put the lotion on the skin or it gets the hose again. Even into the late game, everything is still worth it. That is what truly makes the world feel alive and worth exploring. That brings us perfectly into our next topic. How does gathering and crafting work? But before we get into that, let's talk about leveling, as this is where we're going to be starting off your journey. Hands down, I think it's the best in the MMO genre. From level 1 all the way up to level 65, the game keeps you hooked. They've got engaging quests, good story, and voice dialogue with cutscenes that actually make you care. I won't spoil the story, but trust me, the leveling feels amazing, like Walter White cooked you dinner. Even at 3 AM, you want to do one more quest, one more battleground, just one more run until your eyes are bleeding. Once you hit level 65, the game opens up a treasure chest of possibilities. Like Fortnite, but with less building and more loot. Crafting is essential. You can make gold, craft gear, and create buffs that last all the way into the late game. There are a ton of trade skills. Weaponsmithing, armoring, engineering, jewelry crafting, arcana, cooking, and furnishing. Then there's gathering, refining. There's just so much to do while leveling. If you love crafting, New World will make you happier than when you drink your first coffee in the morning. Now on to gearing, you've got options. Kill bosses or named enemies scattered across Eternum. You can run dungeons like Tempest Heart, visually stunning, mechanically engaging. But if you're not into dungeons, no problem. You can craft your own best in slot gear at your nearest outfitting station, weaponsmithing station. This game has a little bit of everything. Speaking of dungeons, let's talk raids. There are 3 main raids. The Worm, a massive slong straight out of Dune. The Hive of Gorgon, my personal favorite. 3 bosses, puzzles, and insane visuals. The Winter Rune Forge, a 10-man trial that reminds me of my homeland, Canada. These dungeons and raids really shine and have a special place in my heart, just like you do. Looking for PvP? Well, the endgame has plenties. Arena, capture the flag, and OPR. You can solo elite trials for those spicy solo players. And make sure while you're PvPing, you send people to Narnia with a one-way ticket. Is the endgame worth it? 100%. Fun, challenging, and engaging. Gear is balanced too. Getting to about 80% power is pretty easy, but 100%, that's for the min-max gremlins out there. Perfectly balanced, like something Thanos himself would want. Quick recap: dungeons, amazing. Raids, phenomenal. PvP, tons of options. Solo or group play, both work. Wars, for the sweaty of the sweats. Make sure you come prepared and greased up, boys. Getting into a war is a whole nother ballgame. New World's leveling, crafting, dungeon, PvP, and endgame is a buffet of fun. And you're going to want seconds, thirds, and maybe fourths. Just like that guy at McDonald's going back for his 5th Happy Meal. God help his soul. Let's talk about world events, world bosses, and New World tournaments. The game has seasonal events with massive, intimidating bosses spawning across the land far and wide. And they drop beautiful rewards. Gold to fatten your coin pouch, awesome weapon and armor, and some beautiful skins to make your character look extra fancy. And a bit of decor on the side if you're into housing. More on that later. You've got the Halloween event in fall. The winter event during, well, winter. These events are not only fun, but they're also worth your time for the loot. Now let's tackle the big question: solo versus group play. Can you experience all of New World without ever grouping, or you'll be forced to socialize until your brain melts into pudding? The answer? Yes, you can play solo and pretty much get best in gear slot. Grouping makes it a lot easier. Some of the best gear comes from raids, such as Worm and Hive of Gorgon. There's also artifacts that can only generally be farmed when you're with a group. They're very important, I'll explain that in a bit. And some world bosses that are extremely tough to solo, unless you got the dog in ya. Going solo, it's totally possible, but it'll cost you more money than material, and leave your coins drier than the desert. So when you're doing dungeons, raids, or even PvP, do you really need other gremlins with you? Well, let me break it down. Dungeons, you go to activities, click mutated expeditions or expeditions if you're still a newbie, click random queue, or pick the dungeon of your choice. You can even choose your role: DPS, healer, or tank for the beefy boys. Technically, you do need 4 other people to do a dungeon in New World. But here's the good news: you don't have to talk to them, saving your sanity. Lucky you. You see that lobby? That's my mental health waiting to plummet. Now raids are a different story. For Hive of Gorgon, the Big Slong, the Devour, or the Winter Rune Forge, all the way up in Great Cleave. You'll need 9 for the Winter Forge, 9 for Hive of Gorgon, and 19 Lost Little Lambs for the Dune Worm. Yes, that means you'll have to socialize a bit for endgame rating, a small price to pay. But the payoff is huge! Just like how huge it would be if you smash that like button and subscribe, as I'm always going to be giving you the best New World content. And while you're at it, join the Gremlin Hall of Fame. You get a cool button, and you'll be cemented in the goblin lore for all of eternity. The reason why you do these raids is to get top tier loot. Some of them you cannot craft because they're illegal. The perk combinations that come on the gear. This also prevents you from breaking your bank account. Lone Wolf, don't worry, you can still craft almost the equivalent gear, but sadly, you do need a few pieces of gear from these raids if you truly want to be best in slot. How about PvP? That's where solo players can really shine. It's broken into 3 game modes: Arena, Capture the Flag, and Outpost Rush. But all these can be completely played solo. Personally, I'm a huge solo player, not by choice, but because I have no friends. And even solo PvP is a huge blast. You don't need a group at all. You're a ranged rat, you can hang in the back, snipe people from afar, and get hate mail faster than kills. In terms of skill, a max level player can usually handle a 1vx up to about 3 players. Anything more than that, either facing walking bots or people with let's just say questionable builds. Finally, the big daddy PvP content, wars. Let's get straight into it. Wars, now this is where the party truly begins. Grab your Coca-Cola, grab your chips, boys, because we're about to enter the battlefield of no return. Wars are 50v50, which means you need 99 other participants to make it happen. But here's the catch. Wars are the greasiest, slimiest content in New World. That means you need a good company, pretty much best in gear slot, and actually be good at the game. This is the holy trinity to even attempt a war, and you're still not guaranteed a spot, let alone success. That's what I call a bigger disappointment than my high school reunion. There is good news though. Pickup wars are coming. I can't say too much because I haven't played them yet, but this should allow the casual players to experience one of the best parts of New World Eternum, the warring system. Now let's talk about artifacts. The game-defining trait for your build. These completely shape how you play the game. Take my beautiful greatsword, the Crescent Wave. This turns me into a magical wizard, casting more disappointment than Harry Potter himself. I can launch Hughes Wave that do massive damage and annihilate foes, decoding them live on air. Artifacts are 1 per slot, 1 weapon, 1 jewelry, and 1 armor piece. For my jewelry, I went for the Blood Drinker. This defines my playstyle even more. I lose some damage, negative 25%, but ignore that number. It's reality, about 10%, 15 maybe, who knows. But I gain 25% juicy lifesteal. Completely changes the way you play the game. Armor artifacts generally increase your damage or defensive capabilities, letting you fully customize your style to the way you want it. One major downside is some artifacts aren't soloable. You'll need a group to get them, and they're scattered and spread across different types of content. Let me explain how that works. Let's open up our map, boys. I'm about to break down how exactly you can farm these magnificent pieces of gear. You can go over to the wild, down here on the bottom right-hand side, and kill some baby mammoths. Get a juicy artifact. This one will take a group, or you can get them in dungeons that are scattered across the land, such as Starstone Barrows, the Need, or the Forge. These have beautiful artifacts waiting for you to claim them. And some artifacts you have to get from the PvP track. You get this by either doing OPR, Capture the Flag, or Arena, making every type of content in New World viable and allowing a bunch of different playstyles to thrive. So it's time to grab your pickaxes, grab your shovel, boys. It's time to start digging for some beautiful new pieces of gear. How about chest runs? Chest runs are very important to New World. These are massive runs where 20 to 60 people will get in a humongous group and dance around like a chicken with their head cut off. They run through the entire zones. You even have world tours. So not only do you get beautiful loot, great items that can sell for a monstrous amount of gold. Fun fact, one of the most expensive items in New World is a goldfish. If you grab that, you're filthy rich. But one major advantage of doing a chest run is the beautiful landscapes you get to see. The amazingly designed zones. This one requires 0 socializing. Just hit enter. X up. There's already someone in chat saying X merc. If you ever see someone doing the world tour, I recommend joining, especially if you're a new player. Wait until you're max level though. You don't want to become a floor tank. They'll invite you into a group, and it's time to get on that train, boys, because that is a ride you'll remember for the rest of your life. I personally love chest runs, and I think they're very fun. You should really try them if you've never done them. They fall out of favor as you get closer to endgame best in slot, but especially if you're a newer player, I highly recommend going on the world tour. Just seeing the sights, seeing the landscape is an experience you'll never forget. Let's talk about factions. There's 3 factions in New World: Marauders, Syndicate, the Purple Rats, and the Covenant, the ones who worship the land. This is an important decision, as once you pick your faction, you cannot change it for 30 days. On top of that, if your faction controls the most zones on the map, that means no one can go into your faction. So if you have a friend in yellow, let's say the Covenant, and you're in purple right now, he cannot transfer into purple because purple owns the majority of the map. This is crucial. I don't want you to be locked out from playing with your friends, so make sure you choose your faction wisely. As once again, you cannot change this for 30 days. You'll be stranded on a desert island, alone, naked and afraid. But don't worry, these guys have huge advantages by joining them. Let's open up rewards real quick and just scroll down. As you can see, this guy gives you an absolute monstrous amount of stuff you can buy and craft with. So don't sleep on your faction vendors. Level them up, boys. They're very useful, even at the very end game. Faction vendors will still come in clutch. Next up, let's talk about housing. Welcome to my humble abode. As you can see, I look like I'm in poverty. That's because I'm not too interested in decorating a house. However, it does have some very practical benefits. 1. You can add trophies here on the right hand side. These will give you additional damage to enemies that you fight out in the wild. You can have up to 3 houses, and I recommend grabbing 3 as fast as possible, as these trophy buffs are not only crucial for slaying down the enemies you will fight in raids and dungeons, but they also allow you to craft best in slot gear. Yes, you do need real estate to be able to craft good gear. But let me just showcase you one of the house gremlins. This guy put a lot of time into his house, and you can clearly see nicely decorated furniture everywhere. Chess, he even has a little pot where he cooks his, let's just say, illegal substances. He has a graveyard back here from when he maybe murdered someone in PvP, and upstairs his bedroom. And this is not even close to the best house I've ever seen in New World. So if you do love decorating, you love designing a house, and really getting into the fantasy, as I'll show you one of the best houses right here. Beautiful chest, winter decor. That's from that winter event I mentioned earlier. He's even rich enough to have a backyard. Man, maybe Jeff Bezos himself. But there truly is a plethora of building opportunities, and it's something people sink millions of gold into. At the late game, remember that goldfish I was talking about earlier? That's a decoration. People really are collectors in New World Eternum. How about we talk about the longevity, the community, and what the future looks like for New World. The community, fun, rewarding, and engaging. People are chatting in chat all day. Just look at that chat go up. Most people are friendly and helping each other out. You can join discords and even other communities. But like any MMO, the extreme endgame, that is where the salt rises faster than in the Dead Sea. Wars, raid, and even PvP kills. They get them salty, and let me tell you, that salt, delicious. Right now we're in Season 9, and Season 10, it looks like it's going to be an absolute banger. Could even revive the game faster than you revive me if you smash that like button and subscribe. So yeah, I think New World has a solid future, at least a couple more years before the Lord of the Rings MMO drops. If you're looking for a $60 solid game with a good community for both PvP and PvE content, an amazing build variety, solo-friendly gameplay, you're in luck. Combat will melt your brain faster than hot lava. You can quit anytime and come back whenever you want. There is no subscription. The gear grind isn't demanding for people that have 4 jobs, 10 wives, and 3 kids. And don't worry, it's also not like those tedious Korean pay-to-win MMOs. The future looks bright, so lock in your favorite weapon, find your new girlfriend, and hop on this roller coaster, because this ride, it's just beginning. Start up your journey, make sure to smash your like button and subscribe, since I'm always going to be bringing you the best New World content out there. And while you're at it, become a YouTube channel member and join the Hall of Fame like my previous members. Become one that will be cemented in the lore books for years to come.